You are listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple Podcasts and other platforms everywhere. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. I wasn't expecting to record this today, but due to an unexpected situation that has come up, I am going to discuss with CPTSD triggers and feeling overwhelmed, among other things that go on with CPTSD. I am going to strictly use my personal experience that I'm currently experiencing with my parts and triggers for this episode. So it's a potential that this might get very emotional or could be triggering for you. So just a heads up in case you have triggers from this. This morning, I had an argument with my girlfriend. I'm not going to get into the details because of privacy issues, obviously, but all I know is that what happened is because of my ADHD, I have a hard time with communication, with words in my head, overwhelming thoughts, inability to think and express what is on my mind, lack of emotion, inability to be expressive. And when I tend to say things, especially if I'm a little heightened or on alert, it is very difficult to get my point across and to make sense to others. And when I do this, my girlfriend gets frustrated and can get angry with me, which all that does is trigger me or make me heightened, and then I am blended with my system and I am done. I really have no ability to be the adult, as she puts it, and I'm done. And the problem is that because I'm still very new to this, I have a hard time recognizing and realizing what is going on in the moment. And what that does is that leads to a lot of frustration, a lot of anger on both sides, and unnecessary conversations and words being said because I am having such a difficult time recognizing that I am feeling triggered and that I'm blended with my child parts, which stops me from ending the conversation and explaining to her that I feel triggered and that this needs to end. This is one of my difficulties that I have with CPTSD is I'm still learning and I'm getting better at recognizing and realizing that I am in a blended state when I get triggered from a flashback or a trauma-related incident. The thing that I'm still learning is that triggers can come from an unrelated event. It doesn't have to necessarily be related to the issues that I'm having. And it is one of these struggles that I go through on a daily basis, and I've been doing it for the last year or two, and it is very frustrating and very overwhelming to my system. A lot of times it doesn't take very much for me to get triggered due to the fact that I have little understanding of the entire CPTSD history, not for myself, but in all the possibilities that can occur. Now, I realize that there is a 4-step process that I need to do. There is the unblending, separating the adult from the child parts. There is the being with the parts, understanding their feelings and feeling what they're going through. And that can take a long time. As I learned recently, you can be in a processing mode of step 1 and 2 for months at a time because your parts just don't want to listen to you. And they're being difficult because they don't trust you, and you can't really update your parts unless they trust you. So I am still kind of feeling it right now. Like I am unblended, but I'm having a hard time truly understanding what is happening, and I don't fully grasp what just went on. I've lost a lot of the memory of the argument and the conversation, so I don't exactly remember a lot about what went on in the 20 minutes before she had to go, which unfortunately is not good for me. Like, I am the kind of person that needs to try and resolve issues immediately. It is very difficult to delay the gratification process. That is an ADHD issue, which makes this even more complicated. Excuse me. So the problem is that when I started talking to her about my conversation that I was having, and I came up, I forgot to discuss about what had occurred the night before. We had had a bit of an argument the night before where I had intended to go out to get a small bag of chips for her because she was craving, and I, instead of doing the right thing and taking as little time as possible to find the first place that was open, I went around and waited at one place, then went to a 7-Eleven, which is a convenience store, and then went to the Walmart, and it took me like a half an hour to get back. And she was really upset with that, but because of my issues, both ADHD and CPTSD, I got heightened, and I was having a very difficult time communicating and getting, like, understanding what she was saying, communicating my thoughts and my feelings to her. And so she was expecting me to discuss that when I first saw her this morning. But because of something that had happened that was really good and exciting for me with work, I started with that instead. And yet I messed that up. But that's because of my ADHD. I am poor at communicating. And so once that was done, she was basically trying to understand the purpose of what I was doing. She also mentioned the fact that she was annoyed because I hadn't brought up the night before, and she thought I was going to when I started talking to her. And I was having a very difficult time. I was so overwhelmed. I was already getting very emotional because I was already feeling the effects from the night before. And I was feeling horrible and angry with myself when I went to bed, and ended up thinking about it before I fell asleep that night before. And so when it felt like it was starting all over again, I was on the verge of breaking down. I don't really cry because my system prevents me. It's that whole boys crying is not right. It's not appropriate bullshit. And so I had to, it just wasn't coming, but I was feeling so overwhelmed and so emotionally beat up that I just couldn't handle it. And I was trying as hard as I could to inform her that I was triggered and that this conversation needed to stop. And I walked into the living room, and I stood there and looking out the window, feeling these overwhelming feelings. And I was just about to say to her, I am triggered. This conversation needs to end, please, when she said something. And I felt this overwhelming impulsive need to respond to it instead of telling her that I'm triggered. And of course, this was not good. Obviously, I needed to do this, but because of the fact that my system picked up on what she was saying and had this overwhelming need to respond, it didn't look good. And then I said to her, you got to understand, I was just going to say to you that I am triggered and that this needs to stop. And it came like it was within seconds, split second basically, of me talking and wanting to say that. So that's when she had to leave. And I just remember sitting in the chair, looking out the window, feeling extremely overwhelmed. My system was just going really crazy, and I didn't know what to do. It was like not having any clue on how to take care of it. Like, I ended up sitting down at my desk and getting out my notepad, which I use to write down my thoughts when I'm processing and trying to figure out what was going on with my system. And it was really difficult to get anything because it was my brain is so confused and so distraught and so overwhelmed that I had it was difficult to get really a lot of stuff out of it. And so I became heightened and triggered when I learned that I had messed up this conversation in the morning. And when I tried to recover, it was impossible. And then she asked me a question about it and I couldn't answer her. And it has felt as though my mind had completely failed me. That's what I feel a lot. I want you to understand, with the ADHD, I feel like a failure. Like, I feel stupid. I feel like I'm not capable of being in a relationship because I can't handle it. Like, it's just too much so often. And so it's very scary, like, my brain just doesn't want to cooperate. It is always making mistakes. My parts are always getting triggered because of the mistakes, because I feel like, oh crap, I did it again. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's so ridiculously overwhelming that I can't complete the things that I need to do. Like, I'm not able to stop myself, and I'm not able to say the words that I need to say to end it. Like, to say, I'm triggered. This is too much. I'm overwhelmed. I need to stop. I need to go. I'm having such a hard time doing this. And it's a repeating thing, and it happens again and again. Basically, I'm not making sense. When I'm trying to talk to her, there are words missing, and they come out wrong. Like, I can't get simple things out, right? I feel so afraid so easily, and I'm on edge so much. It seems like anything I say is wrong, and I'm looking stupid, and I'm looking insensitive and uncaring. But the worst part is that the only thing I want to do is I want to say what is right. And yet these disabilities, this ADHD and then my CPTSD, is preventing it from happening. I get so frustrated, like, it is ridiculous. And I just don't know what to do. Like, I have such a hard time as it is communicating and saying what is in my head that it feels like it's next to impossible. And this is so frustrating because she wants an answer. She wants to hear the truth. She wants to be told. She wants to be acknowledged. She wants to feel like I'm acknowledging her and that I'm listening to what she's saying. And the thing is that I am. I'm listening to her. I sit there and I look at her and I listen to the words that she says, and I'm trying to comprehend and let as much information as I can into my head. But because of the fact that my ADHD is so hard to deal with, especially when I'm heightened and I'm in an elevated state, it makes it very difficult to get a lot of the information that she's saying and to make sense of it. But that's the thing, is that because I am elevated, I have such a difficult time expressing it and saying what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking out loud. And that makes it worse. This is the hard part about this, is that my brain fails me in the time that I need it the most. I'm sure you can understand what I'm talking about. I'm sure that to a lot of you that this has happened on a regular basis, probably daily, especially if you're in a relationship with someone that you love very much and you care about so deeply. And all you want to do is make her happy and feel loved and cared and respected and heard. And when you fail to do these things because your goddamn mind doesn't want to do it, it makes you feel like you just don't know what to do. Like, you feel alone. Like, you feel frustrated and you feel angry, and you're angry at yourself. And because of my disabilities and my child parts, it comes out the wrong way. She thinks that I'm angry at her, that I'm frustrated with her because she's not listening to me, or she's not understanding me, or that she's not believing me. And the reality is that I'm not frustrated at her. I'm not angry at her. I'm frustrated at myself. I want to kick myself. I want to run and scream, and I want to find the ways to say these words, and I'm not able to. And that's the part that is what's so confusing and so frustrating in my brain. And I don't know what to do. I can't rely on her to be help. She's not my therapist. She's not there to fix it for me or to help me get through these stages and help me process. That's not what she's here for. She's here to support me and love me and care about my issues and my life. We're supposed to help each other to get through this life so that we can be happy and not feel overwhelmed and not scared about the day or about the year or the week. And I'm having so many problems with this. It's so easy for me. It's so easy for me to get triggered. It's so easy for my ADHD to get in the way and to prevent me from doing the simple things like thinking, not being impulsive and doing the wrong things and then regretting it later, and half the time you don't even know that I've done it wrong. It's a feeling of craziness, it's true. I feel like I've failed. I feel like I'm not capable of keeping up with the normal speed of time. I just catch up to the first topic that was said, or the first point, and yet there's been 3 points made since then, and I'm just getting the first one. And it is so frustrating for both of us. I don't know, honestly, the fact that I'm having such a hard time realizing in the moment that my system has become triggered and that I'm blended with my child parts, I'm getting better at it. I used to be way worse. There used to be fights that would last for such a long time. But today, it is easier. There's a lot less of these happening, but I'm still struggling with the ability to realize in the moment right away that I am in a triggered state, and I don't know. I keep thinking that I'm okay, that the adult is the one that's in charge, and then I'm having such a hard time realizing that I am triggered. I honestly don't know sometimes what to say. And a lot of times that seems to be the case. I just want to do the right thing. I want to be the adult that is comprehending what's being said the first time. I want to be the adult in the relationship. I don't want to have my child parts involved. I don't want to have her talking to them. They're kids. They don't know these things. They only know what they were created for their purpose. And when they get involved in this relationship, it hurts us both. And it makes me feel terrible. It makes me feel like a loser, like someone who can't do this. I don't give up. It sure feels like sometimes like I should, but I'm so stubborn, and I never quit. I'm not a quitter. I can't do that. Which is probably why I feel it's so difficult to stop in the moment that I realize that I'm triggered, that I need to stop right then and there and pull away from this conversation and go and unblend and fix it later. It's very difficult. It's so hard. My brain feels so difficult. It's so complicated in there. I really don't understand a lot of the times what's going on. I have a better understanding. I know that my executive function abilities are poor. My emotional regulation is really weak. I have a high impulsive ability where I say things before I realize that they're wrong, or that it's incorrect, or that it could be hurtful. It does happen. And I'm it's so difficult to realize these things because of ADHD, that when she gets angry and she shows her frustration and the tone of her voice rises up and she's angry, and I start to feel that sensation in my chest and my ears start to hurt because the sound is too much. Yet I have such a difficult time realizing in the moment that I'm triggered. I really feel like I'm failing here. Like, I can't do this. And I know that it's not an easy thing to do. I know it takes a lot of time, but I'm scared. I'm scared that I can't get better. The reality of life for me is that I'm going to make these mistakes on a regular basis, that I'm never going to get to the point where it never happens again. There is no cure. ADHD doesn't get cured. And the fact that it makes my triggers for my CPTSD more likely to occur, and that they do occur a lot more often, really is hurtful. It drives me insane. I feel crazy sometimes. There are days that I don't want to do anything else. I'm literally supposed to be working right now. Like, in theory, I am. I'm fortunate that I don't have a lot of work today. And I'm so grateful that I've got a week off coming up next week from work and that I don't have to go and do this thing. I have time to do some research, do some processing, and try to heal my parts and try to get them to trust me more. It's difficult. It really is. It feels like I don't know what to do. And I don't want to put this burden on my girlfriend. I don't want her involved because she feels like it's not fair. Like, she shouldn't be doing this for me. And it's true. It is right. She shouldn't be that therapist. She should be my girlfriend. I should be her adult boyfriend, and we should be in a loving relationship where we don't fight and we don't have confusions and problems and difficulties on a daily basis. This should not be the case. It should be a loving relationship between two people who are adults and are capable. I know that I can be an adult. I've done it before. I have been successful in the past. This isn't something new. It's just in new situations, it's difficult. Like, ADHD makes things really difficult for when a neurotypical should be easy for them to do. Reasoning and thought process and the ability to make correct decisions that are sound and proper and real. Instead, I'm getting lost, I'm getting confused, and then I end up making stupid decisions that are irresponsible or that are childlike and that don't make sense and that are frustrating to everybody, especially her, and even more so to myself, because I'm the one that's so hard on myself. I don't know sometimes why, and I don't get it. And I feel so angry, and I want to just, I feel like I want to lash out. Not at her, don't get me wrong. I'm not that kind of person. If anything, it would be at myself, or it would be at another object. Like, I want to break things. I want to throw things. I want to have a temper tantrum. But I'm so worried that it's my child parts that are doing this, because I don't feel like it's the adult that's in control. It's easier. It has been easier, but it feels like I still have so very far to go, and I'm worried. I am worried that I'm not going to get better. I'm very worried that I'm going to lose her. That this ADHD and my CPTSD is going to be too much, and that I'm going to be by myself. It's ridiculous. I don't have anyone else really out there that truly understands what's going on. I do have my therapist, but I don't see him on a regular basis every day like I'd see my girlfriend. She's the only one who knows exactly what's happening, and I'm feeling afraid to tell other people that I know. I should be, but I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so afraid of rejection and feeling what could be happening that I don't know. I just don't know what to do sometimes. It's really scary. And sometimes I get lightheaded and sometimes I feel like maybe I want to pass out. I just don't know what to do some days. It's really overwhelming and it's very scary. And the reality of this, when I feel it, it it makes me not capable of doing anything. I can't explain it. I can't discuss it. I don't even understand it in my mind, let alone being able to tell it. I I really don't get it. But the fact that I'm struggling is disheartening and defeating, and it it makes me wonder why I'm here sometimes. I don't know. I want to stay positive despite all of it. Some days it's hard. It's really hard sometimes. You want to do the right thing. You want to be there. You want to be the adult. You want to be competent and sound intelligent. And when you have your conversations or when you tell somebody something, whether it's bad news, good news, it's something that's really exciting, it you want it to come out right. You want it to make sense. And the fact that I have such a hard time with this, that my ADHD gets in the way so often and makes life so frustrating, it it is triggering. I'm I'm definitely worried. I wonder, and it's too much sometimes. Then I end up dissociating and doing nothing but just letting the outside sources invade my mind and take over. It is hard, and I don't like upsetting her. I don't like making her feel this way. And yet I don't know how to resolve it sometimes. I love her very much with all my heart. She's the most incredible, beautiful, intelligent, wonderful, like bold and wise person. She's incredibly brave and incredibly strong. And she's the most amazing woman in the world. If you ever met her and you ever got to know her, you would see this within seconds of meeting her. She's so amazing. And I feel like I am incapable and I'm not worthy of it. And she reassures me that I'm an amazing person and that I do so much for us and for this relationship. Yet I feel like a failure. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And I feel like I don't know how to fix it. And I don't know what to do. I'm really distressed. I haven't felt this bad in a very long time. I don't want to quit. I won't quit, to be honest. I just don't know how to express what's going on in my mind. It worries me. It really does. I used to think that I was suffering from early onset Alzheimer's or even dementia because the fact that I would forget things and that I would make a mess of something so simple that could be said so easily and that could be understood by anybody. And yet here I am struggling to do this. And then on top of it, I get triggered because of it. Because all I think about is I can't get into conflict. I hate conflict. I hate making people feel upset, whether it's on purpose or accidental. And most of the time, it is accidental. I have no intentions of hurting anybody, let alone my girlfriend. I don't know what to do some days. It is extremely overwhelming and painful. And that's to say the least. Like, what I really feel and my inabilities to express those feelings is the real problem, to be honest. Like, I don't feel very self-confident about myself these days. I know I sound confident and I sound knowledgeable in my podcasts and in all the episodes that I've done, but you can't fake how I feel right now. It's not possible. Well, I know this is not exactly a typical episode, but I felt like I needed to express how I feel today, right now. It is not easy. And the way I feel is really rough right now. If you have any comments or concerns, or there's something you'd like to ask or tell me, please do. You can go to my website, www.livingwithadhdandcptsd.ca. There is a comment section. You can contact me there. I am on Twitter. ADHD and CPTSD is the Twitter handle. I am also on Facebook, and you can reach me there. Same name, Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Yeah, well, that's it for this episode. I hope it was informative and helpful. It's not every day that I spill out my feelings and what's going on in my head to people. All right, everybody, talk to you later.